All right, this is the NFL tweet of the night from Xfinity Mobile, and all it says is Derek Harmon, 55, going to the Steelers. And the guy's got a big motor. He has quick feet. He can move quickly. He does a lot of things exploding to the football. And the Steelers hope that he can be that guy who can help the Steeler run defense, which was not very good last year. And that may be an understatement based on how it all worked out. In the meantime, I thought the biggest win of this draft so far was Cleveland. Now, they had the number 2 overall pick. They could have taken Travis Hunter. Many thought they would. Instead, they engaged Chris in a trade with Jacksonville, and they get a big amount of stuff back to the point where I think now they have first-round pick, and they took a guy for their trenches as well.
Mason Graham.
And he's a very good player, one of the best in the business, I think, and available, so they took him. But then they got an additional second-round pick and then next year's first-round pick from Jacksonville. And if Jacksonville stinks, that first-round pick could be pretty high on the list here. So I think that's a good move for Cleveland, given all the stuff they gave away in the Deshaun Watson disaster.
I'm going to be a little bit more measured. I do think if you're somebody who is about asset management and you are somebody that also thinks that Cleveland's going to roll the dice on next year's class being more robust at quarterback, and that's when they're really going to try to make their move, then yeah, I mean, this makes sense. Jacksonville, though, with Lawrence, with a new coach, with maybe kind of a new program in there, and you know, Cohen obviously having the reputation as being a quarterback whisperer of sorts and being a guy who can get things right, I wouldn't count on that Jacksonville pick necessarily being like a top 10 or 12 pick. I think that could be closer where the Steelers just picked if the Jags have their turnaround. So it's a good deal. I don't think it's like this wild, insane overpay based on how Jacksonville does next year. I also think this, Bob, I think we have to take this into consideration. Now, your mileage may vary. I know Pony is not a Travis Hunter believer, but that was partly because he admitted to me he thought the Browns would screw him up. If that guy becomes the player a lot of people think he can become for Jacksonville, you could easily be looking back at this if Cleveland biffs it with their quarterback pick, whoever they identify for that position, as another horrible Browns mistake, even though they're largely getting praised for it around the NFL right now.
Yeah, very interesting stuff, and it's going to continue tomorrow. We have Guy Geyerson who says on a tweet to us, who the F is going to play quarterback? Again, time will tell on this one. We'll see how it goes. But Guy, hang in there. It's only one round. Anyway, let's do some rapid fire. We got a lot of people on the lines tonight, beginning with Will in McKees Rocks. Hello, Will. Go right ahead.
Hey, guys. How are you?
All right, man. What's going on? What do you think?
I understand why they went with Harmon. Personally, I was hoping that they would, break protocol and get a quarterback, because who are they going to get to throw the ball to? But do you think that in the later rounds, like Milroe or Dart could fall to them?
They could be available. Who knows? Matthew Golden to the Packers.
I don't think Milroe's going to be around late.
No, but
I don't think Milroe's going to be around late. And by the way, so the Packers would have been an interesting trade partner for the Steelers with Pickens, because they were clearly the team talked about as being interested in wide receivers, but they get Matthew Golden, so that would seemingly eliminate them from consideration. You start going down the list of teams that are picking at this point in the draft, Bob, and maybe you could get somebody who obviously hasn't picked a wide receiver that's going to be picking earlier in the second. I just think it's going to be hard for the Steelers to pry a second-round pick away from a team for George Pickens. I think it'd be much more realistic that they got an early third or even a mid-third if they were able to trade him. But the Packers were another team that you could have looked at as a dance partner that now are not.
As far as the quarterbacks, they still brought in Will Howard. They seem to like him. There are other guys, McCord, you mentioned. We'll see how that goes. But, next up, at some point, they're going to draft a running back, I would think, as well. Back to the lines we go. Nick in Canonsburg. You're up, Nick. Go right ahead. Or Rick, I'm sorry.
Hey, that's okay, Pompinator and Molsey. I do want to say you guys look excellent tonight. You guys look very sharp. I love the suit, and I love the shirt, Molsey. So
it's a great golf shirt.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Anyway, I digress. I do want to say it's so refreshing, this pick. I feel like we're back to being practical. Bob, I agree with you. I think there's a side deal going on here with Rodgers. I think that's pretty, it seems pretty clear to me. But I did want to ask you both, with this Pickens thing, is it realistic? Do you think there's still a big enough window that we can get a late second round with him? What say you both?
I agree with what Chris said, too, Rick. I don't think a second round is available here, even if you give up Pickens, I think you might get a third and fourth, something of that nature, but no, not for there. And listen, the option could be keeping him this year now and having two guys like Pickens and Metcalf together for a veteran quarterback or Rudolph or whomever it may be. And that makes their offense considerably better. You have two guys you got to watch on the outside. They can take guys deep with them, open up the middle of the field, do a lot of stuff like that. The only thing with that is they know they're not going to pay him, so you're most likely going to lose him for a comp pick at the end of it, Chris.
I do think it's a little naive, though, to assume that George Pickens, if that's the scenario that unfolds, is just going to say, okay, guys, well, you thought about trading me. I deleted all mention of you from any of my social medias, but I'm here. I'm back. Let's just put up numbers together. That just hasn't been his track record.
But isn't it in his best interest, though, Chris? He has to do it because he is looking at a free agent contract after this season.
Bob, but if George Pickens evaluated things as soberly as you just did and just said, hey, these are the facts of the situation, I don't think we would talk about him as a guy that the Steelers don't feel comfortable paying. The one difference I will say that is tangible now that Metcalf is here. I think George acted the way he did in part because he knew there was nobody else at his position on the roster that could do what he did. Now that you have a guy that he looks over, he goes, oh, that guy's actually bigger and stronger than me. I think that might, keyword being might, I would stress that, might have him looking at this situation a little differently.
Let's go to Nate in New Jersey, who's on the line, and welcome to the Sports Call. Nate, go ahead. Nate.
Who the hell is going to play quarterback? What?
All right, you'll find out in time. Again, if you believe that the Steelers...
Nate's actually the smartest man in New Jersey, if you didn't know. He actually won multiple competitions. He's a noted scientist in New Jersey.
Listen, I think they're operating... Right, Chris, you'd have to operate this way. If they did not have a deal or a belief that Rodgers... And I know you're dealing with a guy who's a diva and has all kinds of stuff going on. I get that. But they have to come to some belief here that he is going to be here this year. And that gives them the latitude then to draft someone again mid-round, and then they could redo it again next year and try to locate that guy who will be the franchise quarterback. This is not an easy thing to be in, and it's proven to be the case ever since Ben Roethlisberger left.
I know a lot of people say, Chris, you wouldn't really have the stomach for this if it was happening to the team, but let's just say, for argument's sake, the unpredictable, mercurial, diva-like Aaron Rodgers decides he doesn't want to play here. What's the worst thing that you have happen? Mason Rudolph, who the last time Steelers fans saw him playing quarterback, they were pretty happy with him, starts for the year. Maybe you have like a Kyle McCord in the 4th or 5th round who has some attributes that you like. And then, oh no, you might go 5-12. Oh, the horror, I can't believe it. They'd actually have access in a better on paper quarterback class without having to move up. Oh, what will I do if the Steelers actually get a difference maker at the position? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Rudolph, who knows? We saw him at his best, I thought, since he was a Pittsburgh Steeler with 3 straight wins. He looked really good in Seattle that day, stepping up in the pocket, making plays. And maybe if that's the case, that's the case. And you're right. There are upside to all of these scenarios. So we'll see. We got to go to a break, though, on that note. One note I want to mention real quick, though. Not only did O'Neal Cruz hit another home run tonight, his 7th, but Matt Gorski, a guy that I know Joe and I have been talking about on the radio, to get a chance. And I never understood, Chris, why he wouldn't get the chance. He's 27, other than he wasn't Ben Cherington's pick. But now he was called up. Sawinski was set down. First at bat, he hits a home run. I mean, what do you got to lose, really, right?
Trivia question for you, Bob. Who was the last Pirate to homer in their first Major League at bat?
Starling Marte.
And he did it on the first pitch he saw in the bigs. That's like
Houston?
Exactly right. That's like the Bob Pompiani of baseball. First broadcast you did, a flawless effort right out of the gate.
I don't know about that. I was nervous. All right, we got to take a break. Come back with more. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live right here on KDKA+.